said that it took 22 years to try to repeal the Con-Con, and I was 22 when I was first elected, so it's not something. But I'm just here to tell you all about avenues we're taking in the New Hampshire legislature to attack Obamacare. We have pretty much a three-pronged strategy. The first bill we have is House Bill 89, which is requiring the Attorney General to sign on to the multi-state lawsuit. Now, of course, he's being, for lack of a better term, an elitist little whiner who thinks he can tell the legislature that we can't do it, and even threatened to sue us over it. But according to our Constitution, officials of the executive branch have to follow the law of the legislature. So that's one strategy. And the next bill we have is House Bill 440 that was put in by Representative Steve Valancourt of Manchester, which, in addition to the lawsuit, repeals all of the enacting legislation for the insurance department to implement the mandated coverage, the dependents until 26, and all of the other unconstitutional mandates in Obamacare. Because under the 10th Amendment, as which of course now you'll know that the powers that aren't delegated to the federal government directly are reserved to the states. And when you read the Constitution, I don't see anything about the federal government being able to control health care in there. Do you? Has anybody seen that in there? So therefore it becomes a state issue, and the state has complete right of refusal. Which brings us to our next piece of legislation, is the just-in-case legislation I'm co-sponsoring with Representative Dan Nitza, my colleague from Rockingham 9, Epping and Fremont, which is House Bill 126, which makes interfering with a patient's right to seek private insurance and medical care an actual crime. So if some federal agent from the IRS thinks they're going to come in here and enforce it, they're going to be sitting in a New Hampshire jail. I don't think they'll be coming back. That is the key. The key is the states, we have the constitutional right to do it. It's just that we've had wimpy legislators with no backbone willing to do it, and now we've got people up there that are willing to lay down the line. Just like Representative Dan McGuire actually was the other part of the fight on the Finance Committee. He was one of the, I think, were you the only vote to vote against the $650,000 worth
it's
of...
the Fiscal Committee.
Yeah, the Fiscal Committee.
But, do you want me to say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. There were two grants relating to Obamacare that were coming to the states from to the insurance department. Each one is about $650,000. One of them is they're both for consultants. It's to spend the $650,000 on consultants before July 1st, which is the end of our fiscal year. And one was to just help the insurance department set rates, because you can't, if you're an insurance company and you want to sell health insurance for $1,000 a month, you've got to get the permission of the insurance department, right? So one of these is to hire consultants so that the set rates. I mean, ridiculous. And then the other one is to set up a healthcare exchange, which is their version of a market for health insurance. And so these two grants were applied for long ago, well, last year anyways, when Democrats were in charge. So now they're coming in. But we have rules that in order to accept the federal money, there's two committees involved, the Fiscal Committee, which I'm on, and the Executive Council, okay, with the governor and the Executive Council. Both have to approve. So I tried to get our committee to not approve accepting these federal grants because I think they're useless. But I was the only vote for that. However, it sort of like started the snowball down the hill because Speaker O'Brien, DJ Betancourt, etc., started getting more involved. And now I think there's a very good chance the Executive Council, who gets the second bite at the apple, will cancel them. So we have at least two counselors and maybe three that will vote against it.
So that's thank you, Dan. That's New Hampshire's line in the sand, if you will. And Dr. Perrino was right. We don't have insurance. It's prepaid health care. And we actually have another piece of legislation which you might be on. Are you the prime sponsor of the bill that creates a mandate-free insurance market.
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
type
what
insurance.
Stella was just asking for, I'm the prime sponsor of. It's called House Bill 241, free market health insurance in New Hampshire. The bill is, you know, unlike Obamacare, which is 2,000 pages long, this is 1 paragraph long. And what it says is that a willing buyer and a willing seller can get together to contract for health insurance on mutually agreeable terms notwithstanding all other provisions of law, so no involvement from the insurance commissioner, anything, no administrative law, except criminal fraud and ordinary lawsuits. So if you have a complaint, you can try to get the prosecutor to accuse the company of fraud, or you just bring them to court in a normal lawsuit. So, you know, so that's very short. I'm running into flak, obviously, but we'll see how it goes.
So New Hampshire being where it is, we have a multi-point strategy to deal with every contingency, because thankfully 2 judges in Virginia and now in Florida have actually decided that they thought it might be a good idea to read the Constitution and declared Obamacare unconstitutional. And the geniuses who put the plan together decided not to make it severable, so once one part is declared unconstitutional, the whole thing goes down. But New Hampshire is, you know, proactively trying to fight it, you know, because it's a battle for the legislature. It's not a battle for the judiciary. They're not the ones legislating. They're not supposed to set policy. It's the legislature that takes care of that. And it's, you know, we're about time that we've done our duty here. So we're going to do all that we can to make sure that's rejected in New Hampshire. And criminal sanctions, I think, is quite the incentive for the feds not to come up here and start messing with our citizens' health care. So yeah, that's all. I just wanted to give you an overview of what we're doing at the state legislature, and you know, thanks for having me today.
HB 89 and HB 440 were both heard in my committee. HB 440 was Thursday. So it's been on.
Was that state and federal?
Yes.
So
yeah,
how do
and I
you?
get hate mail now, so I.
So you don't listen to a good job, you're getting hate mail.
Yeah, exactly.
So how has the executive session been scheduled yet?
Oh, we already had the exact 89.
89 came out on to pass, right?
On to pass, yes, with an amendment. We took out the cap and trade part. We also whipped that bill, so we went through the whole House, and that should be on House floor coming up.
Yeah, next week, I think.
Yeah.
And then 440 we just had, and Steve Commeford was quite animated and
He always is.
entertaining.